Hey everybody, Joseph Lowe here, owner of Pure PT Supply. Today, I'm fortunate to have an amazing guest, Matt Fain. He's the owner of Phase One Physical Therapy out in 9 Mile Falls, Washington. And today, we're going to talk everything product retail. For those of you that have followed Matt on LinkedIn, he is on a journey, like many other clinic owners, to go from 100% revenue being insurance based to a number less than 100%. And he's kind of documented that journey a little bit along the way. Today, mostly we're going to be talking about product retail, stuff that works, stuff that doesn't work, get into some numbers, and which he'll provide for you guys. So all the other clinic owners that are watching will get a real sense of how much money is a single clinic making or not making by selling products. What is the feedback that some patients have provided? What do some of the clinicians think? We're going to get into all that. So without further ado, welcome, Matt. Excited to chat.
Cool, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and I've been looking forward to it.
So the first thing I want to get started with was, when did you first sell like your first product, like that you sold to a patient? When was that?
You mean like in general, like at any time in
Yeah.
my career? Oh man, God, man, it had to be. It was a while ago. I can't even remember. It had to be probably my first year, but it was so rare, right? That it's hard for me to remember because most times people would just buy, stuff off of Amazon or whatever. But I do remember back in the day, every once in a while you would sell a little bit of TheraBand or, you know, just some odds and ends like that. But it was so rare that it was hardly memorable. And the big reason why is none of the clinics I worked for ever emphasized those things. And I think the main reason why is because it's hard to make money off of that, and they didn't want to keep the inventory
Yep.
around. And so, I mean, yeah, it happened within the first year of me working, but I mean, between then and now, or when I met you, which was it's been working almost 20 years. I could probably say I sold less than 20 things.
Oh
It
wow.
just doesn't happen. It just didn't happen. It wasn't emphasized. It wasn't promoted. It was all just maybe just happenstance, that we had a little bit of product in the clinic and the patient wanted it. But again, it wasn't emphasized by any of the clinics that I worked for because it wasn't a moneymaker.
So you might have mentioned this on LinkedIn before, but what were the circumstances that got you to kind of go on this journey and say, okay, we don't want to be 100% insurance based. We want to. I know you've posted pictures of the whiteboard and the stretching
Yeah.
services and some of the other things that you offer. What was kind of the thought process, or I guess event that led you to say, hey, we're gonna change things up and make money, or try to make money a different way?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm sure you hear this from other clinic owners, the writing's been on the wall for a while with the typical insurance based physical therapy. It's just been getting harder and harder to make a dollar with reimbursements just flat or going down, and costs overall just continuing to slowly tick up. And I was like, man, there's got to be another way. And I was starting to do some research and starting to hear and see other clinics talk to people about their I've heard of cash pay before, but I always thought that was like niche, or you can only do that in certain areas, like where there was a population that could afford to do that kind of thing. That can't happen on like a normal or a more diverse population. That was what I had thought initially. But as I looked into it more and I've talked to people, I was like, no, there are people who are highly successful running cash based or hybrid clinics in all types of communities, not just, potentially wealthy ones, which is what I had thought initially, like all types of communities, and doing very well at it. And the patient response that they had gotten was incredible. And so I was like, there's something to this. And I was like, so I'm going to pursue this journey. And I just started getting some coaching, some talking to some people, and found out, man, this is very doable. This is very doable. And then the headache that comes down off of not having to worry about those declining reimbursements, and then just getting your money immediately with these cash pay services just really, really cool. And so far, I mean, it's been a journey to get to the point where we started doing this in January. So it's been 2 months now. But I got to say, it's been great. The response has been good. I know it's a slow kind of uptick. We're getting there, and we're only going to continue to improve. it's just been awesome. It's very exciting, and the staff's on board. I mean, everybody's just really stoked about it and is in.
I love it. So I know you offer stretching services and other kind of cash pay services, but for the purpose of this call, as I promised people yesterday, we're just focusing on product retail. So
Yeah,
there's tons of myths going on about there. I hear it from all different clinic owners. I hear clinicians that say, I don't want to, be salesy. I don't want to sell anything to my patients. I just want to send them to Amazon, or worse yet, I hear, oh, we give everything away for free.
yeah,
Um, and and as you mentioned, supplies are not free, and a lot of these insurance-based clinics are barely maybe 5-10% margin, and then they're just giving away free products that are expensive. So that's definitely not the way to go. Before we get into the numbers, when you launched this whole initiative in January, and what you've seen from like patients that you've spoken with and other conversations your clinicians have had, what were some of the fears or kind of negatives going into it that you yourself may have had in terms of selling products or offering products to patients, or feedback that you got from other clinicians when you said, hey, look, we're gonna, here's what these products cost. We want to offer them and sell them to patients for these prices. Like, explain that process that's happened over the last couple months.
yeah. Well, I mean, initially with the team and with me as well. I mean, you hear this a lot from physical therapists. You don't want to be salesy. Like that's the first fear. I'm not a salesman. I don't want to do that. Sometimes you feel like you're taking advantage of people when you're trying to, sell something. And so that was the initial kind of sometimes a little pushback we get, and that I had to overcome it myself as well. But what I've realized is, if we do this well, what we're doing is we're providing a service to our patients with this. This is not a money grab. This is not trying to take advantage of people, but we are providing them with a good service. And again, all the things have to align up, which I'm sure we'll talk about, to make this service possible. But we're giving them a good service that's going to help them meet their goals better, right? They're gonna be healthier. They're gonna get better quicker, and then if they can replicate what we do in the clinic, because we use your products in the clinic, and then we have the exact same stuff they can use at home. It's more of a seamless transition for their home programs instead of having to kind of jury rig something they have at home to make it work. And so,
Yep.
that's been super nice. And then on the other side, though, what's been really nice with working with you is because, again, we in the past we throw out, hey, we have some things here, that would be helpful for you. But yeah, the Amazon thing is huge. Like people say, oh, let's get it on Amazon. Well, now, and it's hard to compete with that, on a basis trying to sell stuff and trying to make a little money off of it. But with your products and stuff like that, it's been able to say, we can say to people, we are selling this for the same price that this product is on Amazon, and so we can say, you're going to get it now, so we tell it to people, and like, oh, well, I'm getting that deal now, sweet, no problem. And there's such a margin built in with your product that even if there's a sale or if it gets a little bit lower on Amazon, we can meet that and still make a good profit on the product. And so it's really taken the whole Amazon thing out of the picture, which has been super
Have
cool.
you
That's probably the biggest factor.
I love it, and we'll definitely talk about numbers here in a second. Last question before we get there, have you had any like surprising or positive feedback from patients where, and I've heard this from other clinic owners, which is why I was asking, but there's kind of this fear of, again, selling stuff to patients, whatever, and then a lot of clinic owners find out actually, oh, the patients like being able to purchase quality products that are recommended to them and used with them by their
Yep.
therapist, and I've heard countless times that, oh, not only are they not upset that I'm offering this stuff to them, they actually like it because they don't have to waste time and go search for stuff that might be different. Like they want to get better. They came to you for a reason. They want to. Obviously, this is where some discretion from the therapist comes in, but they want to do what they're told to do and buy
Yeah.
products that they're supposed to buy that can actually help them get better and not get gouged on price. Have you had any interactions like that with your patients or other clinicians that have made comments?
Oh yeah, 100%, man. Like the patient, and then, again, it's just so helpful because a lot of times patients, again, if they don't have that stuff at home, or they're trying to like figure out, like how to jury rig stuff at home, how to fix things up, and now we can say, hey, here it is. It's the same equipment we use here, and you can do it exactly the same way at home. That's a whole that you're taking out some friction. It's much more of a seamless transition for them to do their exercises at home. just like they do them here, and they love that. Like we have had multiple patients tell us that. It says, yeah, their compliance with their home programs go up because they have the tools that they need to do it exactly the same that we showed them how to do it in the clinic. And the therapists have said the same thing. They're like, man, it's just easier to talk about home exercises at home because we're not like, well, this is how we do it here. But then at home, you're going to have to do this instead, tie this here, fix this here. There's none of that anymore. It's just like, you want to do this at home? Here we have the exact same thing. You can just do it at home like you do it here. And so just the compliance issue with the patients is higher. And then how we educate patients from the therapist perspective is so much easier. And so that's been great. It's really, again, it's taking out some of the friction that's involved with home exercise program building and in compliance.
I love it.
Yeah.
So before I ask you for numbers, for those watching, Matt alluded to this earlier, but when I first got into this kind of industry or this business, one of the biggest things I heard about product retail for physical therapists was a couple things. They just sent everyone to Amazon because it wasn't worth it for them, given the pricing that they were paying for products. If they wanted to resell something, the best they could do is maybe 10%, 20% without, overcharging the patient relative to what the patient saw on Amazon. So with me selling direct to clinics, clinic owners like Matt, I set pricing. So I give legitimate wholesale pricing to clinic owners, and all of them have a guarantee from me that if a patient were to go on Amazon or they want to go on my website, they're never going to see a price lower than the price that the clinic is selling it for. So that immediately creates an environment where the patient is never feeling like, oh, this clinic just bought it off Amazon and charged me an extra $5 or $10, and then you potentially have an angry customer on your hands. So that's why there's 75 to 100% built-in margins minimum for all of these products. So without further ado, could you let us know the month of January, how much, and just your first month, but the amount of product revenue that you generated from just selling products in your clinic? And if you want to share, you don't have to, but based on how many patients was that based off of? Because one thing that I get a lot of clinic owners, they ask me, they say, hey, I have one location or I have 3 locations. I have this many clinicians. What should I expect, assuming we do things correctly?
Gotcha.
So if you have any patient numbers, that would be helpful.
Yeah. So let's put in perspective. We're just a one site clinic, and we have 3 full-time physical therapists. And so for January, again, I have my P&L statement here, so I'm looking at it. So in January, we started off at that point, right, having 0 retail sales, so nothing. And then, so in January, we had our revenue for our retail was $450. So,
Okay.
yeah. And so and I don't have the exact number with me on how many pieces that we sold, but I can tell you we averaged probably, it was almost every day. So we probably averaged 4 to 7 products a week of selling.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for the month of February, I know you mentioned this before the call, but I'm assuming the numbers would be pretty similar to the month of January.
The month of February was almost exactly the same. It was almost about $450. Again, now it's a shorter month, so that might be a part of it too. But it was $450. So total, we're hitting almost $1,000, like $900 in revenue for 2 months. Considering that, before that, again, 0 ever. And so to me, that's a huge jump, and I only expect it to get bigger as people, as our staff continues to get more comfortable with selling it and stuff like that. Even it's only Monday, or today's Wednesday, the 3rd day of the month. If I don't even count today, we've sold 4 things, I believe, this month already.
Okay.
From Monday and Tuesday. So we're on track to have a great March. So.
Yeah, and the important thing to remember for all the clinic owners watching is let's say we'll just round up, but January and February combined, let's call it an even $1,000. If Matt and co sustained that pace for a full 12 months, you'd have $6,000, $500 a month, $6,000 of retail revenue, but the net on that is around $3,000. So like if I sell if a product retails for 20 or for 19, at a minimum, they're paying less than $10. Most of the time, 8 or 9. So there's about 100% margins built in. So $3,000 net might not sound like a lot to some clinic owners that are doing $1 million in revenue, but when you start to add up all of the actual profit numbers, again, I speak with clinic owners that are in the $1 million revenue range, but they're at the 5 to 7%, net profit, 50 to 75. So to add an extra $3,000, which is a meaningful amount, that's a kind of a value add to the patient. You don't have to do much. Is definitely worth it. And Matt, what would you say, like for you envisioning your team, as you continue
Uh-oh.
to offer more cash pay services? What would you envision those numbers getting at? What do you think you guys could do better? Like, what are some opportunities that you guys foresee in terms of reselling products?
Yeah, actually, could you just repeat the question because you cut out a little bit there?
Oh, sorry about that. I was going to say, what are some things that you think you and your team could do better at in terms of in
Mm,
product retail? So you mentioned that you expect those numbers to go up, and obviously it's something
yeah.
new to your team. Like, where do you think there's room for improvement, or at least maybe you have some ideas, or your team has come to you and said, we think we can do these things better, but
Yeah.
like, talk me through some of that.
Yeah, we've already had these conversations as they come up, and part of it, one of the things is just the knowledge base of these products from the back office to the front office. So that making sure that when the patient communicates with us and we're talking about these things, and they say, yeah, no, when you head out, just talk to the front office, and they'll square you away. And then initially, the front office was kind of like, whoa, they have to come back and ask questions, and what product was it again? And these types of, so a lot of the initial instruction was making sure that our back office and our front office are on the same page. So when we say the 5-band mini loop set, they know what that is. When we say the pure band, pure PT band, what is that product? So one is just making sure that there's continuity between the front and the back office, so that when we talk to the patients, and then we say go talk up front, and they say these things, now the front office is like, gotcha, 100%. So that was a little of a hiccup in January. Initially, was that kind of communication, but that has been smoothed out, no problem at this point. And the other part would be, again, especially for some of us therapists who've been around a long time, we really talk about trying to introduce these things in the evaluation, our initial evaluation, when we're doing home program setups with our patients. For some of us who've been doing this a long time, old habits are hard to break. And so, it's just kind of a remember when you're doing your home exercise program for your patient in your initial evaluation, whether it's an upper body or lower body thing, what I want you to do now is when you start the design thing, you ask the patient, hey, do you have any bands or exercise stuff at home? Because I would like to give you some exercises that involve these things. Because before, it would be, if they said no, then we would just do exercises that didn't involve bands or tubes. So now, if they say yes, then we're like, okay, well, great, that's great. But if they say no, which a lot of them do, I'm saying, okay, sweet. Well, I'm going to set you up. I'm going to create some exercises that are going to use some bands or some tubes or something. And I'm going to go grab some real quick, so I can show you how to do them. So then I go out and I grab the Pure PT, whatever, bring it in. Here's how you do your exercises, and then, oh yeah, this is great. And then, oh, by the way, those are up front if you want to get some on your way out. And then we give them the little spiel, and I would say it's near 100% people that we mentioned that in their eval who buys it. And so that's been honestly the biggest sell is selling the product at our initial evaluation. And like I said, it's almost 100% success rate.
So the two things that you touched on are by far the two most important parts when it comes to selling products from all of the clinic owners and clinic groups that I've worked with. I guess before we even get to the selling part, you got to have a product and a price point that makes sense. It's
Yep.
no physical therapist, unless they're dishonest, which most people in the industry, owners and therapists, they have a great heart. They want to help people. That's why they got into this business. They're not trying to scam anybody or make extra money. So it's very disingenuous from what I found for for a clinic owner or a therapist to sell something that they know the patient can get significantly cheaper, from Amazon. So I think that was kind of one of the big hurdles, selling something at a price point that they're comfortable with. And then the front office part, that's one of the biggest issues that I've seen. The therapists, they recommend stuff, but there's just a disconnect between the front office and the therapist, and that's where the sales go to die. And then the
Yep.
last part is, again, we're not trying to be Wolf of Wall Street salespeople here. Soft sell, just suggestions. This isn't, high pressure sales, none of that. It's just, hey, if you want these, we have them at the front desk. We're going to use them with you today during your eval or during your meeting with us. No pressure at all. Doesn't matter either way, and that's pretty much it. And to your point, with the take rate being close to 100%, which is similar to what I've heard from other clinic groups when they're doing, especially if they're doing evals, that just goes to show you that if people didn't want it, or if people didn't want to be sold stuff, or didn't want quality products from their therapist, the conversion rate would be much lower, or there'd be
Yeah.
pushback, or there'd be, I don't want to do any of that, or they would, the patient would get this feeling of, disgust, or they would just go to Amazon anyways. But
Yeah.
none of that really happens, which is awesome. And your experience is kind of on track with everything that I've heard so far. Are there any, given the, I guess, success so far of the product retail, are there other products that you're thinking about adding or expanding, or are you pretty happy with the setup that you have and the products that you sell currently?
You mean from you specifically, or?
Well, so you already have all my stuff. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, is there other like common items that people are asking for, other things that
Okay,
you
got
wish I sold that you could sell, or other kind of products that you're thinking about adding to the list?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, well, before I answer that question, I also want to say one more thing that doesn't show up in our revenue numbers is that when we have a cash pay patient, so they come in as a cash pay patient, they bought a package or whatever, we include. I tell them, I was like, when we do your initial evaluation, whatever equipment you need to do your home exercise program at home, we include that in their with them in their evaluation, and we just kind of lump that in with the price they pay for their cash services. So they're not paying extra for their bands or their tubes or whatever. We include that in the cash pay package. And I mean, so far we've had I can't remember. I think we've had about 6 or 7 cash pay patients so far in the 2 months, and we've included this with them, and every one of them loves it. So I mean, so that doesn't show up on the revenue sheet, but that's again, 6 or 7 more people, 6 or 7 more pieces of product that we've handed out that have been very helpful in being able to provide value for people who are doing cash pay. So that's been really cool. So yeah, and then as far as products, well, I'm super excited for your kinesio tape. To be fair, like when that comes out, we use a lot of kinesio tape. Yeah, we use a lot of kinesio tape. We do a lot of stuff with athletes, and so I am super excited about that because they're always asking where to get, what kind to get, all blah blah blah. And so being able to have a good product at a good price point for them is as well as just for using it for ourselves. Super excited about the kinesio tape. Another stuff that, other areas that other products that we've added is, it's more on like a cream. We've actually been doing some CBD stuff, CBD lotions with some companies. Have you heard of Curable? It's a
Yes, I've heard of them. Yep.
Yep. So they kind of do a similar thing with their lotions and creams and muscle salads and stuff like that. So we've been doing that a little bit, kind of playing around with that, and that's actually been highly successful as well. So that's something that we just recently started. As far as other things that we're selling for our patients. So, but to be I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't really think of anything else that we've started, but other than I'm really excited for your kinesio tape. Yeah. Oh, and then the tubes.
Awesome.
The big rolls of tubes that you have that you said you're getting ready to sell or put on the market is gonna be really good too.
Yeah, the end of March, all that stuff will arrive, which I'm very excited about. And one good point that you made, for all the cash pay PTs, which I sell like a lot of products to cash physical therapists, and a lot of them, sometimes they do packages, or their services are more on the expensive side of things. So they don't want to sell stuff, but they've had, similar to you, a lot of success in bundling in the products with using it more as like a sales kind of technique. If they're selling a package, or they're selling, something that costs $500 or $1,000, adding the products in, because obviously the products do not cost them much of anything, but the perceived value
Yeah.
from the patient is way more than their cost. And if it increases their conversion rate just a couple percentage points, then it is definitely worth it. So I do work with a lot of clinics where technically the retail value is zero or close to zero, because they're just constantly adding them in packages. But it shows up as a different revenue line item, because it's, cash pay revenue from packages and cash pay services or whatnot.
Yeah. It kind of helps to
La-
seal the deal. Like if someone's
yeah,
a little bit unsure, and I'll say, hey, and don't worry, when we set up with your program, we will set you up with whatever equipment you need to be successful in doing it. Right. It's just a nice little like cherry on top that just, if there was any doubt or whatever, it just kind of helps to take it away. So,
absolutely. Last question for you. What do you have any, like, for all the, the clinic owners watching or listening who see this at some point, any tips for them, any pieces of advice in terms of selling products, getting started, all that kind of stuff, based on your experience so far? What would you say to them?
well, I would tell them to get in touch with you because I tell
That's a
you,
good
man.
start.
I mean, yeah, meeting you has been awesome. It's been again, for all the reasons that I mentioned earlier, why selling retail has been so difficult in physical therapy. The low profit margin, just all these things, and been meeting. And when I first met you, honestly, when I was reading about your stuff, I was like, it almost sounded like too good to be true. I was like, this can't be. So, but I mean, you have exceeded expectations 100-fold. It's been a pleasure to work with. And so I would just tell people that you just got to give it a shot. And the thing is when you're starting from zero, and the initial investment just to try a few products, is low. I mean, that's what I did with you. I didn't buy a ton of products right away. I bought a couple of things to use them in the clinic, see how it went, bought a couple more. And then when I kind of got into the swing of things, now I'm buying more in bulk. But it's a low investment initially just to try the product and see how it goes. And it's been great. And when you're starting from zero, I mean, you have nowhere to go but up as far as retail revenue.
Yep.
And so that was like, I was like, this is, I mean, yeah, man, the worst case scenario, I mean, I can sell these things eventually and I'll make my money back in a little bit. But I mean, it's been way more than that. And I hope that next time we talk, I can tell you we got numbers that are closer into the thousands per month, but it's been great, and it's been super easy, and it's honestly a no-brainer. A lot of it is, again, for therapists who have been around the block for a while. It's just trying to like have that conversation again, because so many of us who have been working for 15, 20 plus years just kind of have written retail off because it's never been a thing, or something that was doable to this extent. But to be able to add, like you said, at this level we're going right now, just even $3,000, a year in profit, that's for not doing that much, for not having to do that much, is like, it's a no brainer. And I know that the number will be way more than that.
Absolutely. I love all those. I appreciate the kind words. And I want to thank you again for your time. I know we're coming up on 30 minutes here. So thank you very much for your time. And that's all I got. Don't have any other questions.
No,
And
man, it's been awesome, and it's been a great journey, and I look forward to continuing on and keep growing.
absolutely. Thanks again for your time, Matt. And I'll post this video shortly. So hopefully you can get a bunch of likes and comments on
Sweet.
your page.
I love it. Appreciate
All
it,
right. See
man.
ya.
Yep. Bye.
Have a good one.
Yep.